Morning, boys and girls. Jim Adkins here from Adkins Results Coaching. It's Monday morning. It's early. Let's hit the ground running, right? I don't know where to start. How many times have you heard that or said that to yourself? I'm not sure where to start. Um, the easy answer is always at the beginning, but how do you recognize the beginning? So I've been asked recently a lot of really good questions. Got a friend who's a spiritual healer, and she's very good at meditation. And we did a little our podcast. My daughter said it's a webcast. Did a webcast a couple of Fridays ago, and she sent me some great questions for coaching. I want to share them with you because they're going to be topics that we're going to be covering in the coming weeks. She really sent me a plethora of things that she has witnessed other people struggling with, or just wants to have my take on them. So I'll run through those real quick, but I'd like to answer this first. Where do we start? How do I get started? Now, the question, it depends a lot on what we're talking about, right? The planning stages are going to be different. The goals are going to be a little bit different, but where do you start? Well, you start with yourself, always. And you start from a position of love. Most of our goals are set out of frustration. We get frustrated with the current situation, or we get frustrated with how we're living or what's taking place, and we decide no more. I know that's not always the case, but generally, when people seek change, there are two reasons to do it. One is for pleasure, one is to avoid pain. Now, what's the difference, right? Well, you're either moving toward or you're moving away from. And I know there's a lot of variables in there, but bear with me, those are the basics. And when you get into things like what I'm about to talk about, it becomes very personal. The coaching that could and will be done with some of the topics that we're going to approach here is very personal. And I can't just blanket statement everything. And I try not to ever do that with you. I try to be as honest with you and as sincere as I can. And the idea is that I don't want to be overly optimistic to the point to where it sounds redundantly ridiculous. Okay, I know I'm throwing $4 words at you this morning, but let's start at the beginning. Where do you start? Well, and again, what are we talking about? Let's just generalize here. You start with a plan of action, or do you start with an outcome, or do you just get moving and hope that things work out? Yeah, all of those are true. A journey of 1,000 steps or 1,000 miles starts with one step. I can't remember the exact quote, but think about that. It's, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step is true. If you got a chance to go to college, or you started in a career that you thought was going to be perfect for you, and you ended up changing directions. I remember when I started college, when my kids started college, and I got to go to orientation, they said the same thing over and over. They say 80% of all students who start college change their path, their major path, within the first 2-3 years or period. They just change their path, their focus, their course of study. And it's, I believe it to be true. You start out looking at one thing, thinking this is going to be it. And as you start moving forward, you realize that there are other options that you've never taken a chance on, you've never seen, you've never heard of. And as you approach those, they become more real and you move in that direction. Well, if you hadn't been moving forward, you may have never found those options. So where do you start? You get started. You want to make sure that when you start anything, though, that you're not starting it for the wrong reasons, or you're starting it to hurt, or starting something that could hurt you or others. So how do you know what's right and what's wrong? These are huge questions, right? That you can't just blanket statement. Always start with yourself. Always. If you start, okay, here's a good one, all right? I am recently studying the subconscious mind, and I haven't spoke about it recently, because what I'm finding is a lot of very valuable information that I want to get correct before I hand it over. Okay, so I apologize for not being more consistent with that course of thought, but along those lines, right now, I found that there are two paths generally that people choose in the service of others and in the service of self. Each one has its own vibrational pattern that's correct for the person or that chooses at a time. In the service of others, how could you ever start anything with yourself? Good question, right? If you've chosen a life in the service of others, it does not mean that you give up who you are. So we rarely want to start anything with the thought only of others. If you choose to serve others in a capacity of teaching, physical help, charity work, whatever whatever that service is, sharing, helping, guiding, pointing, whatever. If you don't start with yourself, there may not be much of you to help serve with. So you always start anything with yourself. Where do I start? How do you feel about it? What do you want to do with it? Where are you going to go with it? What does it mean to you? How does it feel to you? And really look at what it is you're about to start to make sure that it's not hurtful, dishonest. Um, I think those are the two. We'll just leave those two there. Okay, so where do we start? Where do we start? That's where we start. Usually, since I'm the why guy, most of what I do starts with a question. Okay. And to answer that question has always been my service. And I find myself in the service of intellect or in the service of knowing and in the service of helping people. Um, so I'm going to share with you some of the questions really quick. Not all of them, but a couple that I will be addressing this week. And again, these are very, very personal um, things. So I can't blanket statement the whole situation, but she's very interested, or some of the people she works with is very interested in relationships and dating. The question is, there's a couple of questions in here. How to date, okay, and how to clear relationship blocks or habits, how to become the person your ideal mate would be with, and how would I coach somebody in this realm? Relationship, how to date. Um, when I first heard that, I was like, I'm 55 years old. Um, what aspect of dating are we talking about here? Because things have changed so much since I was out in what most people would consider dating. But I'll tell you this: I try to date every day. It doesn't mean we go out all the time because that's not what's going to happen. But in a relationship, and this is something that you can put on today. Where do you start, right? I choose every day. Every day I choose to love Sarah. It's not a hard choice, but it's a choice. And everybody has that choice. And I choose to love you. I choose to love myself. I choose to love life. Um, these are relationships. I know she's specifically talking about, not being alone and finding someone to share your life with, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's not for everybody, but it is wonderful, and it does create abundance. So, if you're looking for answers in that area, I think that's the one we'll start with this Friday. And it may not be 8 a.m. I'm taking my granddaughter home on Friday, so she gets to spend Thanksgiving with us. But how to date, how to clear relationship blocks, and this is a good one. And listen, all relationships, right? But we will specifically address um, the generalization of relationship block and how to become. Okay, this is a good one, and I'm not going to answer it right now, but I want you to listen to how this is stated, and you'll probably understand where we're going to go with this. How to become the person your ideal mate would be with. God, I want to grab onto that one right now. How to become the ideal person, the ideal mate would want to be with. I can't. I'll wait till Friday, but boy, do I want to jump. You know, I don't know if I can wait till Friday. It may be tomorrow, maybe the next day, but I want to jump all over that one. Um, a lot of my friends are. She's confused about a lot of the different types of sexuality and how to coach and help these people. Um, with the trans and all the labors of sexuality movement, the traditional relationships, monogamy and polygamy. Um, I don't know if that's what she meant to say or not, but these are questions that we can talk about. Um, here's one that I'm going to have to clarify. Where is it? How to be respectful and understanding of men and women both. So much confusion today around how to behave. That's a good one, right? Do you think it's true that how we do anything is how we do everything? That's a good question. How to recognize habits of the comfort zone that hold us back. And we could talk about beliefs again, but you can also go to beliefs. But these are really good questions. I'm going to start with the relationship one. That's where I'm going to start. How did you choose which one to start with? I chose it. I made a decision and I'm going to go with it, right? All right. So how do we get started? Where do we start? Where am I supposed to start? What am I supposed to do? Take a breath, calm down, stop allowing life to cave in on you and shut down your automatic program for a moment. Turn off your subconscious state of being just for a minute, okay? I'm going to help you do that right now. So whatever, I hope you're not driving. If you're driving, come back to this. Don't try it while you're driving or working with heavy machinery or doing surgery. Okay, find a quiet place and come back to me. Okay. But what I want you to do is shut down that computer for a minute. Shut down that subconscious computer for a minute. And now, before we even start that, let me tell you why we're going to do it. The question that we're going to answer is, where do I start? Where do we start? Okay. First of all, what are we talking about? Do we need to know that? No, we don't need to know that. I'm just going to teach you where to start from. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Make sure there's no distractions. Okay. If you're at work, I apologize. I'm going to ask you again, come back to me. You can do this at work if there's not a lot of distractions around. If you got 1 minute is all I'm asking for. And it needs to be a quiet minute or a controlled minute. It has to be your minute, okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to stop for a second. And I want you to find something that in your office, in your room, in your surroundings that you look at every day, but don't really stop and look at. It can be a picture of your kids. It can be a picture of your spouse, your significant other, your dog, whatever. It can be a map. It can be a book on the shelf. It can be anything. It can be a plant, the texture on the wall. I don't care. Find the one thing. Hold on now. Now you're looking at a bunch of stuff. Just find one thing. If it's a picture that you've looked at a million times, don't just glance at it. Look deep into the eyes of the person in the picture. What do you notice about that person? When you look at them, how are they feeling? Don't just answer because you know the situation or you feel it. Look in their eyes in the picture. Or better yet, look beyond the person. Look at the radiance of the entire image. If you're looking at the wall, find a spot of the texture and look at the artistic expression that whatever the texture is, the stucco, the plaster, the paint, whatever artistic motion that makes, just look at it and be with it. Don't prejudge. Don't just glance past it again. Look at the map. Don't study the map. Look at the book. Don't study the book. Just find a spot that you've never looked at before and appreciate it. You're out of your subconscious now. You've shut off the automatic, I seen it, there it is, so what? When you've shut that off, try to maintain that moment. Just breathe easy and show gratitude for whatever it is you just witnessed. That's how you get out of your own head. Now ask the question, where do I start? You need to have a direction, right? You start at the beginning. So start moving forward. We can go over this more. What you want to do is you want to get into the meditative state, the alpha state, or there are two other areas that you can go to, and I can help you with that. If you reach out to me, you still got a little bit of time in November. I offered you guys free coaching for the month of November. If you're still interested, you got a week left. You have to reach out. You have to set the appointment, and you have to show up, even if it's on the phone or on a video conferencing, but it's up to you, and you got it. I love you guys. Where are you going to start? Well, start today. Start right now. Make a change for the best today. One of the goal setting efforts that we talk about is when you set a goal, never leave the sight of setting that goal without doing something toward the attainment of that goal. Do you need to physically move? No. You can mentally start your motion. All right. I hope this started your day okay. I love you. And man, those are some good topics, Radasi. I'm coming after you. I'm coming back to these, okay? All right, I love you guys. I hope you have a great day. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. And even if you've done it before, if you've given thumbs up on the other videos, hit that like button now because it helps me build the channel. If you haven't become a subscriber, subscribe now. Hit the bell. I don't know what the bell is, so that you get heads up when I go live next time if you like what we're doing. If not, leave me a comment or leave me a comment anyway. I'd love to read your comments. Okay, guys, I love you. Till next time, on your mark, get set, grow.